So section 9.4 is entitled Selecting a Sample. So we've been talking about samples and populations and biases and collecting data, how we use probability in society and all the rest of it. If you want to open that window, you can. I'm just going to turn that off for recording here today. Yeah, just let some airflow. All right, so on your notes that you should have these notes with the blanks, and you're gonna fill in the blanks there as we go ahead and talk about each type of sampling. Now remember, a sample is a subset or a smaller group that somehow represents a larger group. So if I'm talking about all of the grade 9s in the world, and I selected you as one of the ones that I talked to about these issues I have questions about, you would be part of the sample, because I can't ask every grade 9 student in the world, right? So you might be one, there might be somebody from another province, some from another country, right? A sample of the global grade 9 class, okay? You would be a subset, a sample, a smaller sort of version of the whole. And so how do we select samples? There are different kinds, so let's explain them. The first one is a simple random sampling. So each member of the population has an equal chance of being selected. For example, to select a random sample of 5 students from your math class, each student is assigned a number and 5 numbers are drawn from a hat. It's totally random. There's no sort of purposeful selecting of you because of a certain reason. I'm selecting you because you're female, or because you dress a certain way, or because you live in a certain part of the city, or whatever. There's just random. Everybody has equal chance. That's just the basic, simple, random sampling, and usually that's pretty good because you get away from all the biases, right? Or, I'm going to choose you because you look like you're a person that would really care about what I'm going to talk about, so I'm going to choose you. You don't look like you'd care. You wouldn't give me very good answers, so I'm not going to. You know what I mean? Like, so we would get rid of that and just ask random people. Okay, the next one, we'll go to the right here in your notes. Self-selected sampling. Okay, so self-selected. So I'll highlight what you want to fill in your notes here. So simple random is the first one, self-selected. So only members who are interested in volunteer will participate. For example, if a radio station conducts a telephone survey, only people who are interested will call. So this is different than you going out and asking random people, like a 95-year-old lady that doesn't listen to the radio station. Why would you ask her the questions? This might seem a little more reasonable. Hey, if you are interested in having a concert in the park this summer, who is your favorite band? Why don't you call in and tell us, and we'll do a survey. That's a self-selected sampling. The people select themselves to be part of the sample. And it's usually people that have an opinion one way or the other, right? So there's good reason to have a self-selected sample, because you get people that actually have an answer. You don't get people like, oh, I don't know, never heard of that before, I don't care, right? You don't get those people. And if those people do call in to the radio stations, like, hey, what's your vote? I don't listen to music, I don't care, I'm not voting. Okay, thank you for taking the time to tell me that. Like, that doesn't happen, right? So you always get people that care. All right, now there are some problems with that too, right? There are some problems because you can get a whole group of people that think one way and they encourage each other to vote, and so you get, what I mean? It's not really good representation, Perhaps like voting for next year's musical. I'm not sure if any of you are part of the whole spamming incident of like, let's vote for Sound of Music 1,000 times. I heard about this. I heard this was happening. Anyways, self-selected sampling. Sometimes you get a bias or you get something like that. Okay, the next one, systematic or interval sampling. Systematic or interval. You want to fill in systematic. So this would be a case of every nth member of the population is selected. Now, when you see this in math, let me zoom in. When you see this in math, every nth member, that sounds funny, it looks funny, but in math, that n means it's a variable, so it can be any number. You could say, I'm going to pick every 5th person, or every 10th person, or every 100th person to do the survey. How many of you, been in a grocery store or stores, and every once in a while you get your bill, your receipt, and then they highlight, at the bottom, please take this survey. You've been selected to take this survey. Now, sometimes that's a systematic or interval sampling. The computer is programmed for every 50 people or every 25 people or whatever it is, that they spits out this invitation to take the survey. And so that happens to me. Lots of times I just get my receipt from buying my groceries and I leave. But every once in a while they're like, oh, you've been selected for a survey, sir. And they circle it, right? You ever seen this? And then I never do the surveys. But anyways, that would be systematic or interval. If you're taking, asking questions of people in your school, you might stand at the front door and then count every fifth person. I'm going to hand my little survey to, or I'm going to ask them a quick question. Every fifth person. Okay? Systematic. Now that's kind of like simple random, but it's not. There's a little more purpose to that. There's a little more planning and mindfulness to that, right? There's a little more purpose there. So simple random would be like go, just grab. Okay, you three. I'm gonna grab you three. Whatever, go over here, grab those two, and go over here. That's a kind of a cluster, right? That you're grabbing a group of people at a time. Whereas this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Gonna ask you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Gonna ask you. You get that? Okay. And this nth is pretty important too. The nth number. You'll see that lots in math. It's just a variable. It means really any number could go in there. Oh, and the example would be every 20th product on the assembly line is tested. Okay, so that's a good one too, right? Every 20th product is tested, and the sample that's taken, the tests could be destructive or non-destructive sampling. So for example, if you're on if this is a manufacturing plant, you take every 20th project, let's say it's ping pong balls. You take every 20th ping pong ball and you're going to test it. You're going to test it to its breaking point, let's say, How much pressure can I put on this? I put it in a hydraulic press, let's say. I'm going to put some pressure, and when it cracks, I'm going to note the number, and if it's high enough, that means, everything's going well in our production, okay? If it's too low, then like, we might have a problem. These things aren't strong enough, you see? But that's a destructive sample, and you can't use it anymore. So you don't want to test too many of those because you can't sell them afterwards, right? Okay, that's what a destructive sample is if you're unaware. Okay, what's next? This lady, that's the lady at the radio station. Hi, radio station lady. Convenience sampling. Okay, let's talk about this one. Convenience. Only members of the population who are convenient to include are selected. For example, a survey about grocery shopping habits. People in a grocery store are approached and questioned. If you're the owner of the grocery store and you want to know if people like a certain kind of brand of milk or whatever, and you've got 2 brands, it's like, you can look at the sales, but you can also talk to real people too. And you can say, listen, you're here, you're obviously buying milk today, ma'am. Can you tell me, why you chose Foremost over Dairyland or whatever it might be? And she might say, there's no reason, or she might say, you know what, this one tastes better, or this one lasts longer in my fridge, I've noticed. Oh, that's very good to know, So people could be buying things, but maybe you don't get that kind of information. So it's convenient to ask people that are nearby. Now, if you have any questions at all, please ask. I'm just trying to be as thorough as I can, but if you have any questions, go ahead and ask. Stratified random sampling is the next one. So stratified, these are big words, stratified. Well, random's not, I guess, but. So stratified means that there are layers, okay? That there's strata or layers to this. So it's a random sampling, but it's stratified. Let's see what this says. Some members from each group of the population are randomly selected. For example, 5 randomly chosen students from each grade in school could be selected, even if each grade has a different number of students. So it's the layers that are important, as well as the randomness of it. So if you want to ask people in the school, in a high school, let's say 9 to 12 high school, on an issue, something that they're selling in the canteen, or a spirit day coming up or something, you might want to make sure that you hear from each grade. Like, you know what I mean? A random sample most likely would get you people from each grade, but it could be overloaded in one grade. And if you want to make sure that you don't ask more grade 12s about next year's spirit days versus the grade 9s, the grade 12s aren't here next year, they don't care. That doesn't matter to me. I don't know. They might say that. Some of them might say, oh, you know what? Of my 4 years, I've noticed that these spirit days are just the best, and maybe they're great to ask. But you might not want to have most of your random sample accidentally end up with grade 12s. So you might say, okay, we're going to pick 10 from each grade so we get a nice stratified sample, layered. So I get a bit of everybody. Does that make sense? Okay, so the stratified is important. Okay, moving along. Cluster sampling. I think this is the last one, right, that we have to talk about? Cluster sampling. Cluster. So a cluster of grapes, or that's like groups of things, right? Like a cluster, a group. So every member of each randomly chosen group of the population is selected. For example, each grade represents a group of the population in your school. One grade in your school is chosen randomly, and all students in that grade are selected. That's an example of cluster sampling. Now, depends on what you're asking about, right? It may not pertain to the other grades, so it's like, why ask the grade 12s about something for next year if they're not maybe going to give us good answers? Maybe you're asking the grade 8s that are coming into high school next year. You're going to ask all of the grade 8s about extracurricular programs in your high school. Grade 8s are the best ones to ask about because they're coming in. You want to know what they're most interested in. You're going to ask every grade 8, but just the grade 8s. Okay? That might be a reason there. Or your group of friends, right? So your group of friends at church, or your group of friends that own a dog or whatever. You're going to ask just those group of people because your sampling may be specific to their interests, and that's going to give you the best information. Okay? All right. I think that's kind of all we have to talk about for right now until we're going to get some examples here. But does anybody have any questions about anything on that page? Okay. All right. Let's move on to the next page then. Let's do some examples here. So the student leadership team wants to find out if students would like the cafeteria to have longer hours. Okay. Did I skip a page? Oh, suppose the school considers? Oh, really? No. Oh, I did. There we go. There we go. Yeah, the original notes had this as page 1, so I switched things around a little bit so we understand the types of sampling before we get into examples. So, okay, so we're going to explore how to choose an appropriate sample here. All right. So, suppose a school considers making the cafeteria food more healthy. The school would like you to determine the reactions of the school population. Okay, so they're making the cafeteria food more healthy. The school would like to determine the reactions of the school population. List 3 ways you could select the sample of people to be questioned. Okay, so what's one possible way that we've studied here that you think would make sense? Okay, I think simple random is excellent. Yeah, simple random sampling. Awesome. Okay, so what are the advantages of simple random sampling? In this context, or in what we talked about? Yeah. Okay, so you're avoiding some bias, right? So and you get different. You're hoping unbiased opinions. So yeah, you're getting. I like that. So say different, unbiased opinions. Now you might get some bias there, but at least you're getting, some bias one way and maybe some bias the other way. It's all random. So there's no determination on your part to try and get a certain response. Okay, yeah, excellent. The disadvantage is what? What's one or more disadvantages?
Like you can't see.
Sorry?
Like some people might not eat.
Right, you might ask some people that don't care or that don't eat the canteen. Absolutely, that is obviously one of the disadvantages. So you might spend your time and energy asking people that don't eat canteen, and you might be wasting your time, right? Cafeteria food, I guess, let's say. Cafeteria food. Okay, that might be a waste of time. Yeah, absolutely. Or you could find out something different, that there's not a lot of people that eat the cafeteria food, actually, and maybe we should consider just decreasing the menu and save some money, but they might have other ways of knowing that. Okay, that's great. Are there any others that you want to add to that? Okay, those are great. So what's another type of sampling that you could think of that we just looked at the other page that might apply here? Systematic? Okay, systematic or interval. I love it. Yes. Yeah, let's do that. Systematic or interval sampling. Okay. Okay, so what's the advantages? What's the advantages there?
You could ask people who are like in a cafeteria, or no, like people who
Okay, so you could focus on the people that eat the canteen and ask every fifth person or something, right? Did you do that? Okay, yeah, I like that. So advantages, you can focus more on the group that matters, I guess you could say, if I put it that way. You could focus more on the group that matters. And it could still be random because, you know, you're doing every fifth person or every second person or whatever, right? Okay, so what are some of the disadvantages of systematic sampling? Or what's one that you think? So I guess one of the things you could think about is that, the fifth person might be a person that is just doing canteen for the first time and they don't have an opinion. It could be visitors, right? So you might not be getting the people that are exactly the right people to ask to. So you could accidentally, whoa, how do I spell accidentally? Whoa, what? Accidentally ask visitors, or I don't know, parents even that are joining, or people that don't, who don't usually eat there. Okay, yeah. That's a possibility. Awesome. Okay. Okay. Well, we got room for one more. So, what do you think would be one more here? Sorry? Convenience sampling. Yes, that's a good one. That jumps out at us for sure. So convenience sampling. Yeah. So the advantages are, the people in the cafeteria. You get people in cafeteria. Okay, or you ask, let's say, you ask. Yeah, and chances are you're going to have more people that actually matter there, convenience sampling. What's a disadvantage of that? If you just ask the people in the cafeteria, or it's just people that are there on a certain day, or people at a certain table, okay? Maybe you're not eliminating bias so much because you might be asking groups, right, of people that are just there on one day. So I guess you could get some bias in the group convenience sampling. And there may be others that are not in cafeteria that day that could really have a good opinion. So something like that. That's just some examples, right? Okay, now, again, according to other page, we've just got room to write down 3. Was there any others that maybe you didn't mention that you would be good? What about self-selected sampling? Well, nobody said that. Do you think that's a good idea? Self-selected? So you would get people with opinions, right? That's good, right? If you go to all the effort and ask people that don't have an opinion, self-selected, you could get people that have real strong opinions one way or the other. And depending on what the issue is, if it's healthy food, you might get a lot of people say, the food tastes terrible, I don't care if it's healthy. You might get a lot of people say, it's healthy, that's all that matters to me, so yes, healthy food. But yeah, self-selected I think would be great, too. Okay. Which is the best one of these 3, do you think? Okay, I heard convenience sampling of the best of these 3, think? Okay, yeah, probably convenience sampling. You're asking the people in the cafeteria, that's the big deal. They're the patrons, they're the ones that are going to be buying the food, so you want to know what they know. I think that's great. Okay. I think this is the last page. Give me a second. The student leadership team wants to find out if students would like the cafeteria to have longer hours. Several sampling methods were suggested. Explain whether each sample is appropriate. So every student's name is put in a box, and 100 names are selected randomly to be surveyed. Okay, so what do you think about this one? Is this appropriate? And what kind is this, I guess? This is what? Simple random? Is this a simple random one?
Yeah.
Looks like, okay, so it's simple random. I don't know why I'm handwriting this now, but. So simple random. And would that be appropriate? Okay, I heard a no. Why? You want to offer a why?
Because they might not go to the pantry.
Yeah, that's the first thing that jumps to my mind too. Maybe not appropriate because you might be asking. Oh my goodness, might be asking students who don't get canteen or don't get cafeteria food. You guys know what I mean? So yeah, every just 100 names. Yeah, could have people lots of people that don't have a clue there. Okay, what about every 5th person entering the school is selected? So what kind of survey is that? Okay, yeah, systematic. Or interval sampling, yeah, systematic interval. And is this appropriate?
Not really.
For similar reasons, maybe not appropriate. You might be asking people that don't have an opinion on this. Every 5th person, yeah. I don't know. That might be better than a simple random, but I don't know. Does it matter like when this is taken? Like I don't know. Are you going to do this to every student, like every 5th person in the entire school? How are you going to do that? Are you going to do that when they come to school in the morning? Not all of them come to school in the morning. If it's a high school, they might have a spare. You're going to do it at lunch? Some of them might be gone. The ones you want to ask might be all in the cafeteria. So I don't know. Yeah, so systematic. Yeah, still for similar reasons to the first one, I would say. Okay. Anybody else? Not relevant. Answers, time of day that you're asking might make inappropriate. Okay, now there would probably be problems with everything. Some of these, will be better than others, of course, but yeah, I don't know. Okay, so what about each person on the leadership team asks his or her friends? So what kind of sampling do you think that would be?
Cluster.
Okay, you're asking groups of people. Yeah, it could be cluster. I would say probably the first one that I would say the most like this one would be the convenience sampling, right? It's like, hey, just ask your friends. Okay, we're gonna meet here. I want to find out about the cafeteria hours. You guys just ask your friends. So yeah, I would say cluster, but maybe more convenience sampling. So I would say you could argue both there, but yeah, convenience sampling. And convenience sampling or cluster. I think you could do cluster too. So yeah, just certain groups are asked. Certain groups asked. I think that's inappropriate, really, that way. Not a good representation. What about D? An announcement is made asking anyone who wishes to participate to fill in a ballot. So what kind is that? Self-selected. Self-selected, yeah. Okay. Now, would this be a good idea? Okay, so you're gonna get people with opinions, yeah. You might not get as many, right? Because I know when you send out a survey or you post something on the wall, like, hey, come talk to me if you have an opinion about this. A lot of people are like kind of lazy, or maybe they don't have time for it, or so self-selected. There's a bit of risk that you're not going to get a lot of responses because people are busy, right? Or they don't have time to answer. So self-selected, you get opinions for sure. That's great. Might be lower number of people involved. But would you say that this one would be appropriate to do compared to some of the others?
Yeah.
More appropriate? So I say this is more appropriate, yeah. Yeah, say more appropriate. Now, the other thing to think of is, you know, a lot of people that are disgruntled, more people that are disgruntled might vote, right? Because usually that's, with self-selected, you do get opinions, but if everyone loves it, it's going great. Maybe they don't feel like they need to say anything, because, oh, it's going great. Ours are great, so I don't know. It's great. You get more of the negative people voting. I think that's the way that turns out. Do you think? Would you agree with that? You know, like, you know, give us an opinion on the hours. While it'd be people that really want change would for sure vote. So it's more appropriate, but there's risks there too. Okay. Okay. No, that's good. I think probably the systematic or the simple random, you know, you might be wasting your time with people. Convenience, that's just certain groups. Self-selected. Which one did you pick of these four? Of these four? The self-selected, you pick the self-selected? Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's good. Good thinking. Okay, example 2, this is the last one we'll take a look at before you can jet off in your assignment here. A company packages boxes of granola bars. The quality control manager, that's the person who's responsible for making sure that there's good stuff coming out, inspects the first 5 boxes each morning to ensure that each has the same number and types of granola bars. Okay. So, yeah, so is this a good way of ensuring quality control in your mind, and explain? So do you like this method? The first 5 boxes each morning. Is that a good way to do quality control? Okay, somebody's saying no. Okay, no, why? Why do you think no?
Because the quality might vary throughout the day.
Ah, very good. Yes, that's what came to my mind. I think that's the first thing that came to my mind too, is maybe the quality might suffer later in the day when people are tired, or when, you know, when it's hot and when it's everybody's like, oh, I just want to get out of here. Let's just rush this through. We need to get 17 more boxes done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. Okay, so maybe no. Different times of the day would probably yield different results. Yeah. Oops. And for those reasons we mentioned, right? Like, yeah, people might get tired or lazy or whatever, and maybe make more mistakes. Okay. Generally, morning you're freshest. That's when you do your best work. Generally in the morning. First thing in the morning, you guys might argue that you still haven't woken up yet, right? I don't know. Is it tough in the morning for math class? Maybe the first class. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe second, third class. Maybe second class is I don't know. But okay. 2. Suggest 2 other methods of sampling that would be appropriate. Explain why each is appropriate. Okay, let's get 2 more down here. What do you think? Yeah.
Systematic or interval sampling.
Okay, interval sampling or systematic, yes. Okay, now why would you say that?
Because then you can keep checking throughout the day.
Yeah, okay, sure. You check throughout the day. Yeah, that's good. And you probably get different samples, you know, made by different people or made by different shifts of people that way, sure. Okay, good. What's another one? What about just simple random? Like every once in a while you just grab a box and just check it. The cluster sampling idea is probably not a good idea as we're talking about, but maybe just simple random. You guys okay with that? I'd put that one down. Okay, simple random. So yeah, you get varying boxes, you get varying times of the day. It's just there's no rhyme or reason to it. So it's, yeah, I don't know what you say about that. Explain why each is appropriate. There's no clusters. No bias in a sense of timing. No bias in timing. Okay. Yeah. Anything else to add there? Yeah.
Could you also do stratified random?
Okay, stratified. Sure. How would we do stratified?
Every hour or so you grab like 5 different boxes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. For sure. So the interval or systematic could be every so many boxes. It could be so many hours too, like on the hour, every hour, or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. So time during the day in a systematic. Yeah. That's. I think that would be kind of this, but instead of maybe every 20th box or something, you go every 20 minutes or every hour. Yeah. I like it. Yeah. I like it. And yeah. So I think that would be covered in probably this one. Would you say? Yeah. Okay. Good. Anything else? Okay, your assignment is up at the board there. If you can read that, it's page 448, number 1 to 8 and 12. So you get the rest of the class here to work on that. And I'll probably give you some time tomorrow since we're near the end of the class. So I would expect you to get half of this done for tomorrow. So get to work on that right now. Page 448, 1 to 8 and 12.